That's a tough one.
I will say,
I'm not
Crane,
sure
it
if
is
I
a little bit
agree
of a
on that
dangerous
one still,
precedence.
but
Precedence with this, because I mean, like him being in the area shows
Look,
intent that
if we
he
if we
didn't try to leave.
it's very
I
hard
mean, like, for
because
how long for 30 minutes can somebody stay in an area and that not be intent? You know?
misdemeanor, felony, misdemeanor obstruction, and disobeying.
Even then, though, like the same vehicle that
Because
shot at
here's the thing,
police
right?
were
Here's the thing,
in
right?
conjunction.
Being a dickhead and ignoring cops is distinct from intentionally trying to rescue someone. I don't think that the facts here prove that he was trying to rescue someone.
Well, we weren't even pushing felony obstruction. That wasn't even his original
Yeah,
charge.
but mentally, right? Logically, you have to be able to achieve felony obstruction in theory to be able to
prove
get the
accessory?
accessory. It's the same concept.
That is
By
not the
your
same concept.
actions, the way I view it, it is because by their actions, right? They are involving themselves in a situation and they become an accessory because of involving themselves. Every time someone is an accessory, they are also inherently guilty of felony obstruction.
So I could technically clock off duty right now and go shoot a bunch of cops and be on the radio with my boys, shoot a bunch of cops, and if I never rescued that person or proved intent, I'm not an accessory when I was roaming around the same area communicating with those individuals. I mean, that's where I say it's a dangerous precedent. Because this can get brought up, this case law right here.
And not a case law. This is a mediation in a cell.
I mean, still. Then we're having to check radios from here on out to prove our articulation of accessory and stuff. I don't know. I think if he would have just left the area a long time ago when he was told to, that would have been proving his intent wasn't to murder police officers. Him
Wait,
staying
what?
there proves intent. He was told to leave the scene. Like
being a
10
dense
times by multiple
asshole
cops.
doesn't mean you're involved.
But all of the other people that were there roaming with him were the ones shooting police.
Okay, but you said with him.
All right.
Which is why I said the radio matters. I can't just say it was Anto Murphy and Randy Bullitt, therefore they were acting in concert trying to stop the transport. At that point, why do you even need me?
Hey, what do you mean?
Well, if there's no burden to prove anything, then why do you need me?
Well, no, I get
if
that.
you can just say it's Anto and Randy and there was a transport and some of them shot, but we could never confirm that Randy did, and Randy shot at the end after the transport was safely inside the hospital and he had an argument with Claire, you're basically just saying, well, lump him in because he was present the whole time. And the question is what links him to the original crimes? What links him to John Paul and Marty? For example, let's say I get drunk and I take LSD and I decide to fucking just whip my car around in the middle of the desert near the Yellow Jack because I think I see a fairy spirit and I'm just fucking around, right? And then let's say later on, I'm driving my car in the city and I ram into Claire Everly and get in a shootout with her. Those things happened. That's what you're saying Randy did. But the context you're applying to those facts is that he was with them, quote unquote. And what I'm saying is, outside of them being Anto Murphy and Randy Bullitt, how do I know he was with them? How do I prove that his intent and his actions were surrounding trying to break out Marty and John Paul? How do I prove he wasn't just being a jackass? I think he was trying to break out Marty and John Paul. I can't prove it. I don't. What conclusion can I draw here?
For me, it's the fact that he was there. We had officers in critical condition. We had 2 suspects bleeding out on the floor. We could not move until we had, 100% certainty that the scene was clear. We couldn't clear that scene because he would not leave, nor would the other vehicles that were shooting officers.
The misdemeanor obstruction. You arrest him.
I feel like that means he's involved, though. If he's obstructing the scene,
Well, you can misdemeanor obstruct and be like, okay, put it this way. If I'm a drug addict who sits outside the Alt Street Apartments panhandling, and the cops do a raid on the Alt Street Apartments, and I continue to sit there and call them assholes and distract them, am I intentionally hindering their behavior, or am I being so reckless and negligent with my own behavior that I am obstructing their ability to do their job? Am I seeking to hinder someone's apprehension, or am I just being a fucking idiot and causing them drama and grief? That's the bar you
and
have to
then-
jump in my mind.
well, it also involves the part where he goes and also comes to the hospital and intervenes with the scene that we have there, and he goes on to shoot an officer. I feel like all that stuff in conjunction with one another is enough, but I
Look,
guess
it's
not in
close.
this
No,
case.
no, it is extremely close. Uh, in this situation, I think it's a good example of why Anto, for example, is guilty, but Randy's not, right?
Yeah.
I see Randy as being beyond a reasonable doubt provable that he was misdemeanor obstructing, disobeying. Hell, you could hit him with a million different charges. I mean, if being a jackass with a charge, he would get like 18 counts of it, right? But in terms of being guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the accessory charges, I think it's very close, but it's a little too far removed for me.
Okay.
Listen, if this was an actual court case and you were able to cross-examine him, right? Maybe his story might fall apart. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Here's the thing I want to say, though. I think that people have this idea that because a certain situation with a very specific set of facts results in one outcome, that becomes a precedent. That's not the case. I mean, the judgment calls are what they are, especially in bench trials. The whole point that we're trying to work on with bench trials is moving away from the idea that this is a highly technical, highly, intense courtroom process. That's what's causing these 6-hour weaponized bench trials with Dundee, right? I think bench trials should return to a state where we're basically just having two people come up, tell their side of it, just like we did here today, and the judge gives a gut judgment call. Review the evidence, read the statements, think about what everyone said, and give your best shot at giving an opinion.
Problem with that though is it just gives the criminal so much more of an advantage doing that. Is because the police officers don't have the time to get multiple POVs. Like for me, I thought the transporter didn't arrive at Pillbox. Aziz didn't think the transport arrived at Pillbox. Blair thought so because we're split in so many different directions. There's multiple people, sometimes 6 people shooting at officers. We're all in different areas. I, in good faith belief, didn't think that the transport was
No,
there.
you don't push
Randy
it to
was
the
like,
docket.
"You're lying."
That's not how it works, Hasmade.
I'm like, "Tessa, do you know?" And she's like, "I was."
The
getting shot
server
at by
is not
Anto."
a
So I
server
thought
where
they were there.
you
Like, I mean, like
get pushed to the
it's
docket.
one of those things where
It's
doing
not
only
how that
one
works.
person is how
if someone's
they get
getting
out a lot of
charged with
charges every
something,
time.
then they
My opinion.
appeal. It's just the reality. It wouldn't function
In
any
like
other
a
way. If
one-on-one
everything
thing.
got pushed to the docket, then the DOJ would die.
I think at the end of the day, it just doesn't feel right if we get pushed through a bench trial when we're not ready for it,
Agreed.
and all our
100%.
charges get dropped because we don't have the proof.
I
Well,
agree.
I mean, I guess the people could
I
always,
had-
request to the judge that we
If
would like it to go to
this
trial.
had gone to a docket, I had enough proof to get him convicted of all that. If this had gone to a docket, if I had been able to get Cannoli or whoever had taken his radio, I would have been able to get him involved in this, and that's at the end of the day the issue, I think, and that's why that bench trial was so long, is because I put in the time to
Right.
get the charges that I was pushing and every detail that I needed.
I got a question for you. What if instead of what if let's play this out, right? Remember that HOA situation the other day with like 12 people?
Mm-hmm.
What if,
That was awful to deal with.
yes, so what if the judge comes in like I did and says, nope, no bench trial, too complicated. Criminals say, well, you're restricting my rights, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
What if there was a third option in that workflow? What if judge says, nope, too complicated for bench trial? Criminal says, but my rights, I feel like I'm getting screwed over because I just now have to appeal it. What if there was then like an emergency eject button for the criminal where they could ask for a mediation? And instead of arguing the
happened
facts
here?
of the case, instead of arguing the facts of the case, they had a third party mediate the sentence.
I
So
remember
for
you talking
times
about this
for
at one
times
point.
where people feel like they're not contesting the reality of the charges, which happens a lot, especially like with Dundee the other day. They're not entirely challenging the situation. Maybe they're just challenging, like, Dundee the other day was upset about what strikes on his vehicle. Instead of
I
dragging
don't
every
even remember.
cop, yeah, he was mad about the strikes. Instead of dragging every cop to the bench trial because Dundee's mad about strikes on his car, what if he had the option when the judge, which we're going to start saying, which I already have with the HOA, that it's too complicated for bench trial. What if his option was a mediation then, where he just got to say, "Hey, look, I know that I shot cops or whatnot. I'm just concerned about the strikes on my vehicle, and here's why." And what if the judge would just arbitrate or mediate between the two parties? Not like this, where I get two sides and we go back and forth and argue our points. What if it was just one person sitting at the head of the table and the two parties on either side talking out their differences? Do you think there'd be any outcome out of that?
I don't know.
Ah,
I feel like that's just as tough. I just
I'm
feel like
willing
you
to
saying like the
try
word
whatever you
weaponized
think.
is what concerns me about benches. Because if you're a judge being a third party in that situation and you feel like they're being weaponized, like the process to handle a strikes on a vehicle, you appeal it with a judge. You don't do it in a bench trial. You know what I mean? Like we need bench trials that are gonna pull officers out from the streets. Right now, all I've responded to in the last 2 days is 78 calls. I haven't written a traffic stop. I haven't done any detective stuff. All I've been doing is responding to officers getting shot or grenades thrown at them. So, and then we pull 7 people to a
No,
bench
it's not
trial,
about
which
W,
only hurts
Curious.
the city
It's
more because we're lack of police. You know,
you have to understand that, like,
so
from the cop POV, like
I don't know. Something definitely needs to occur on it.
they're utilizing a lot of resources for the
And
city,
the
and it
docket's swamped
feels
anyway, so the solution isn't appealing it on
like
the
it's a
docket.
problem for
know?
them if
I don't really know.
they put in all the effort and they get
We
the
could
people
try
finally
arbitrators.
arrested, which takes so long and
See
it's
how
so
it
I'm
hard.
willing to
you know?
try stuff. Whatever you think
What
we could
happens at the
try,
end?
I'm open to it.
If the person goes to jail for very minimal charges
I
and is
see
back out
there's
in
an
like
issue.
15 minutes,
I recognize
the question
it.
is
I
like,
don't
how does
enjoy
that,
what's happening right
you know,
now, and I think that if there's anything that we
feels
can
like
try,
they put
then
in a
we
lot of
should,
effort and they're
because
not getting something out
the
of it
bench
that
trials, I'm not
makes sense for the
trying to
situation.
weaponize them.
It's difficult.
I think other people, I don't think they're trying to weaponize them, but they are kind of being weaponized right now, and it's just not a good time for anyone.
Yeah, no, I trust me, I'm losing sleep over it.
So
I'm struggling. I really don't like it. I really don't like what it's doing to people's impression of going to court. And I am working very hard to try to find solutions. And I don't think that I've come up with anything even close to good yet. I'm just trying to throw shit at the wall and see
if it's sick.
Yeah.
what people think and how we can move forward. Because no one is benefiting right now, and that makes me very sad.
Well, I mean, all the bench trials I've had with you are good. I haven't lost one bench trial actually with you. The reason why is because we're thorough, and normally it's just me there. Honestly, I bring one or like I bring the officer that's gonna help solidify like what happened. You know what I mean? And I let all the other officers go. Oh fuck! I get their what do you call it? Their statements, and then I just go from there. So like, I personally haven't experienced what you're talking about, but
Well, the problem is because the times I've dealt with you, Jones, I think that the people typically have they were actually contesting just the nature of the charges, and you had, very simple evidence. The situations that Miss Lamb and I are talking about are situations where the person knows they were guilty, has no misconceptions about it. They're not going to learn anything and change their mind or accept it, even if it's explained to them. They are just, at times, utilizing the bench trial system as a way to force the police resources to deal with them instead of anyone else.
You better get me out of this motherfucking thing. You won't
And
say it to my
so
face right now, man.
that
You won't
becomes
say it
a
to
whole
me.
different problem.
Crime doesn't pay, sir.
Yeah, you won't say it to me right now. Come here, say it to me. Come here. Say it right in my face. Hurry up, get in here.
Man, that gentleman is loud.
Why aren't you gonna come in?
Sir,
You scared?
kindly be quiet. Thank you. Nobody's coming in that room. You're by yourself. Enjoy your time in Bolingbrook. Anyways,
Jones
That
is
was
funny
dumb.
as hell. He's so sassy.
I don't
I
know.
appreciate you though, Crane.
It's a hard one.
As much as I might have been frustrated with the accessory being dropped, I do appreciate you. You do a lot
I
for the
understand
DOJ.
it a little more now that you've sort of gone through it.
It's hard for
more
me.
so with the examples.
Yeah, I feel strongly that felony obstruction, there needs to be a level of intent proven. And if you're only using constructive intent, right, because you almost never going to read their mind,
Yeah.
it all comes down to very distinct variables, which is, like I said, the radio channel would actually matter here probably, because then you can link him to Anto, and because Anto can be proven to be intentionally hindering during the transport, you can link him to Marty and John Paul, right? That chain
Yeah.
is established. Do I think I would have made the same? I'm not going to call it an oversight or a mistake because that would be judgmental. But do I think I would have done the same thing the officers did and just said, "Well, it's Randy and Anto interfering in a transport for Marty and John Paul accessory"? Yeah, 100%. I'm not trying to sit on a high horse and tell you I would have done it any differently or any better. I'm telling you that sometimes the circumstances lend themselves to the other side, and that's unfortunate. It is hard. I mean, I'll put it this way. I'm probably going to think about this for the next 3 hours. I know that doesn't help you any, but that's probably what's going to happen.
Don't beat yourself up about it. I honestly,
I don't beat
Randy's
myself
gonna
up.
shoot
I'm just saying I'm
faster
just going to think about it.
forward.
I'm just going to give it the due diligence that it deserves. The truth is that if I was to actually put in the amount of thought process that would go into every single case, cases would take 4 days.
Yeah, you would need.
And then I would
literally days
deliberate
of
for 2
deliberation.
days.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the reality.
and we can't do that.
Yeah, it's impossible.
I wonder if the issue is partially that some of us just. I know I said it doesn't feel good to let people walk on their charges, but at the same time, maybe we just do our job, go to the bench trial, and if we don't have what we need, then it gets dropped, and that just kind of is what it is.
Or what I'm going to start doing is the second that we start talking in the bench trial, I'm going to say, Your Honor, sidebar. And I'm going to go up there and I'm going to say, I request a mistrial of this. And then I just put it on the docket.
Well,
Yeah, well, good luck with that one.
Well, I mean,
I'm going to
worth a
slice
try.
that beanie off your damn head, Jones.
No, you are not. I will shoot you.
Yeah, the beanie will be off first.